Good morning, everyone. It's a bright morning after some drizzle yesterday, so we should be open about. My name is Tajuddin Ahmed, and I'm the chairman of the NBCC Programs Committee. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the NBCC August 2023 Sharing Experience Series, themed The Power of Storytelling in Marketing. I'm particularly delighted to see our council and ESCO members looking radiant. Our distinguished speaker and mentor to many, Mr. Udeme Ufot, MFR. Our moderator, Mr. Gbenga Aburowa. Our sponsors, British American Tobacco, Guinness Nigerian PLC, Extreme Ideas, and First Bank Nigeria Limited, and all our esteemed guests. Please rise as we sing the Nigerian and British national anthems. Media, please. Our seats, please. Sorry, I was supposed to have apologized for starting 10 minutes behind schedule. At the chamber, timing is at the forefront of our approach to our activities. We're sorry for the 10-minute delay. Before we begin, please allow me to state some housekeeping guidelines. For all physical attendees, questions will be answered during the Q&A session. Please raise your hands and the microphone will be brought to you. For those joining us virtually, if the volume is too low, kindly check your system volume. This event is being recorded and will be available live on our YouTube channel, Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce, NBCC. For comments and discussions, use the chat icon. Submit your questions via the Q&A, and only these questions will be answered during the question and answer session. For posts on social media, kindly use the hashtag NBCC Sharing Experience 23. Thank you for listening. Please join me as I welcome our numero uno, the President and Chairman of Council, Mr. Ray Ateli, FRPA, to give his welcome address. May we honor our President, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know that we have a diverse audience. The Deputy President is here. Good morning. And other ESCO and Council members here present. All protocols duly observed. I'm pleased to welcome you to our August edition of the Sharing Experience series. This Sharing Experience series started in 2019 and is designed as a platform for accomplished leaders in the organized private sector to share their experiences in the areas of entrepreneurship and professional career growth, fueled by passion, audacity, and innovation. To this end, we are honored once again to witness yet another edition themed The Power of Storytelling in Marketing. Permit me to say that storytelling is the oldest yet most powerful communication tool we have as humans. We've been telling stories back in the villages, and that's how we pass traditions from one to the other. And in the space of marketing, it has a way of ingraining product and service information into the consciousness of all who listen. They help to share, engage, and comprehend in ways few other mechanisms can. Stories have always fascinated people and are more easily remembered. Well-told stories regarding a brand appear to have the potential to influence consumers' brand experiences, which consist of all the sensations, feelings, cognitions, and behavioral responses evoked by brand-related stimuli that are part of brand design and identity. Today, we are honored to have with us one of the greatest brand storytellers of our time as he shares with us insights, strategies on his journey in the world of advertising and branding. I am delighted to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Odemelfort, MFR. He is the Group Managing Director of SO&U, an icon in the advertising industry. When it's time for a vote of thanks, more will come, but suffice it to say that this event wouldn't have happened if we did not get the support of British America Tobacco, Guinness Nigeria, Extreme Ideas, Coca-Cola, and First Bank. And we thank them for this. We also thank immensely the programs committee that put this together, under the able leadership of Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed. The chairman is here. Well done. So now, without much ado, let's sit back, relax, and listen to what Mr. Odemelfort has for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, Chairman of Council. But we applaud our President once more. Media, you're on cue. We have the video of our sponsors, British American Tobacco. 2 minutes. Sponsors British American Tobacco. Ahead of the 40-minute fireside chat, my job is to introduce both the speaker and the moderator. But before I speak about the speaker, it's a very short profile. Let me ask a rhetorical question. Where were you sometime early in 2007? I'm sure everybody here is of age at that time, just 16 years ago. So there's a certain commercial that was said to be one of the 5 Nigerian commercials with the most memorable storyline. Another critic said it was number 1 out of 6 Nigerian TV ads that are better than movies. Imagine an ad better than a movie. Then the third critic said this ad was one of the most iconic lines in Nigerian advertising. And someone who said this is actually a demigod in the advertising industry as well. So this same ad, at the end of March 2007, Guinness Nigerian PLC had more than 500 hits on its website, an unprecedented attainment at that era. You can clap. So this ad line we're talking about, my friend Udeme, he's a great man. When he was a boy, his teacher asked him where he dreamed of working. That advert, my friend Udeme is a great man, was the Guinness Reach for Greatness ad that shook the entire African continent from 2007 and well beyond. It may interest you, without surprise, to know that the initiator, the protagonist, the executioner, and the manager of that ad was our guest speaker today, Mr. Udeme Ufot MFR. So let me try to do justice to this iconic Nigerian in 2-3 minutes. Mr. Udeme Ufot MFR, Group Managing Director of SONU, holds a BA Industrial Design from Hamadu Bello University Zaria. Yes, ABU products were wired that way, you know. I'm one. So he has a certificate in management from Swedish Institute of Management and Chief Executive Program, CEP, of the Lagos Business School, LBS. Mr. Ufot worked in Inside Communications from 1984 to 1989, where he left as Deputy Creative Director of Art to join CASERS in 1989 as Creative Director. 6 months later, taking a leap of faith, he co-founded SONU in 1990. Now one of Nigeria's leading marketing communications groups with a strong reputation for professionalism and creativity. He's currently the Group Managing Director at SONU, where he contributes to policy formulation and management. Mr. Ufot has held several executive positions in the Association of Advertising Practitioners of Nigeria, AAPN, including being Vice President and President in 1997 and 1999, respectively. He serves as board member of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, NESG, which is Nigeria's leading public-private sector economic think tank, where he chairs the board communications and media subcommittee. He is also a private sector co-chairman of the Policy Commission on Tourism, Hospitality, Entertainment, Creative Industries, and Sports, FEX of the NESG. Mr. Ufot is a member of the leadership team of M&C Saatchi, Africa. He's also the chairman of the advisory board of the School of Media and Communication at the Pan-Atlantic University, owners of the prestigious Lagos Business School. Mr. Ufot is a past president of Lagos Business School Alumni Association, LBSAA, past chairman of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, past board chair of LEAP Africa, Nigeria's leading nonprofit for development of leadership and entrepreneurial skills amongst youth in Africa, as well as member of the board of Special Olympics Nigeria. This Nigerian is a man of many parts indeed. Mr. Ufot is also the chairman of the board of directors of Ibom Icon Hotel and Resort in Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, one of Nigeria's leading conference, golf, and leisure resorts. Mr. Ufot will tell you when you pronounce Akwa Ibom, it tells you the word is Akwa Ibom. So lots of Nigerians actually call it Akwa Ibom. So I learned from him to say that state is Akwa Ibom State, not Ibom. In fact, Mr. Udeme Ufot is one of the foremost private sector resource persons who have deployed their talents to the service of the good people of Akwa Ibom State. Coming home, Mr. Udeme Ufot is one of us, being a member of, former chairman of a communications committee, and is currently a council member of the Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce. In Yoruba, the word will have been Omowale, or let me say Babawale in this sense, because Mr. Ufot is definitely not an Omo. In recognition of his services to the nation in the corporate sector, he was awarded Member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR, in 2014 by the federal government of Nigeria. Finally, Mr. Udeme Onofiok Ufot is married to Dorothy Udeme Ufot, SEN, and they are parents to Anekan and Dorothy Jr. May we give a resounding round of applause to this special Nigerian as he takes his seat. Yep. Yes. Let's clap as Mr. Udeme Ufot come up. So, left side, left. The moderator. My other job is to introduce the moderator, Benga Aburowa, a versatile and dynamic media professional. Benga works at News Central TV, a media professional known for his captivating personality, crystal clear voice, and exceptional presentation skill. By the time I'm done with Benga's profile, I need to pay the chamber for this advertisement. With over a decade of experience in Nigeria's top radio and television stations, Benga has mastered the art of presenting, hosting events, performing voiceovers, and moderating panel discussions. His unique blend of charisma and expertise makes him a sought-after figure in the media industry. Benga is a distinguished news anchor and presenter at News Central TV, a premier Pan-African 24-hour news channel. With his exceptional hosting abilities, he has become a coveted compare and anchor for high-profile events throughout the African continent. Benga has graced the stage at numerous significant number of elite and top call events, including the launch of the HIV Trust Fund of Nigeria at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on the 2nd of February, 2022. Benga, I hope you've not been invited to come for the ministerial inauguration on Monday. You were waiting, okay. Benga also handled the launch event of the Economist Magazine special edition of the World Ahead 2022 at the Eco Hotel and Suites. He hosted the Central Bank of Nigeria Card Expo and Dinner, the Committee of E-Business Industry Heads Annual Retreat, and the Preserving PMB Legacy event hosted at the Banquet Hall, again at the Presidential Villa on the 22nd of February 2023, to name a few. Benga, we have to probe your bank accounts with all these Villa events you've been comparing. Benga is renowned for his lively energy, infectious personality, and his unmatched style that seamlessly blends intelligence, warmth, and humor. His presentation skills are second to none, making him a standout in the industry. And to top it off, he's also a host of the monthly AFP event, which holds at the prestigious Alain Francais Micadenoga Center in Ikoyi, further elevating his status as a leading presenter in Pan-African media arena. Benga is a seasoned event master of ceremonies who brings a unique combination of humor and professionalism to every event, captivating audiences and fulfilling clients' objectives with ease. Finally, with a keen sense of humor and a passion for reading, football, every reasonable man loves football, and traveling, Benga consistently delivers unforgettable experiences that leave a lasting impression. Whether you're looking at it for a dynamic host or an engaging keynote speaker, Benga Aburowa is a perfect choice for your next event. Pro bono, without paying us. Benga, I invite you to the podium to take over the fireside chat next 40 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed. I've never received that sort of introduction in my career, and it makes me feel very special. So thank you very much. I would always remember this day. So any events you have will be pro bono. Just one. Yes. But let's get to the business of the day. I really feel special sitting in the midst of an advertising icon and giant, and it's my pleasure to be able to host this fireside chat. I look forward to engaging And Mr. Tajuddin has given the best introduction ever. So we'll just get straight into the business. You studied industrial design at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Zaria is a town that brings fond and not too fond memories. I was in the Nigerian military school, Zaria, for 3 years before I ran away. I'm not military. The military life isn't. I'm all for the soft life. That's why I ended up in broadcasting. You studied industrial design at undergraduate level. I would like us to reflect on your journey through the Nigerian advertising landscape. It's undoubtedly been filled with defining moments. How much of an impact did your background in industrial design help to shape your trajectory in advertising?
Well, thank you, Benga. Good morning, everyone. Let me start by thanking the president and council and members for the opportunity, for the privilege and honor of sitting before you today in this experience sharing session. I especially thank my friend Tajuddin Ahmed, who came after me with every passion to ensure that this day came to pass and had a very long notice. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure for Baba Wale. Thank you. Industrial design and my path to advertising. It was no accident. Actually, the accident happened much earlier. I'd finished my O-levels and was wondering what to do. In university, I grew up in university community where I met lots of professors. And so one of my ambitions in life was to be a professor of anything. I was enamored by this man who talked, especially political science professors. So I thought about political science. But during a gap year, I found myself in the library of the University of Calabar. And I came across the American Journal of Marketing. And I flipped through it. And I came across the page, a section on advertising. And I looked at it. But what really captured my imagination was an illustration of a young man in very nice linen jacket, colorful shirts, Ray-Ban sunglasses. And the caption under that illustration was a trendy art director. And I wonder what that meant. And I read further. I came to realize that art directors work in advertising and they are creative people. And I looked at myself. I had very good grades in English literature and English language. I had excellent grade in fine arts. So I felt, hey, I've just been created for the advertising industry. Why am I pursuing political science and all? So I managed to convince my dad to allow me apply to ABU for industrial design, because at the time, fine arts. And he couldn't believe that such a brain should be wasted in university studying fine arts. So he felt I would be a great lawyer, and if I'd been in the sciences, he would have had a third doctor in the family. But I begged him to allow me, I wouldn't disappoint him. So that's how I wound up studying industrial design in ABU, specializing in graphic design. So it was a deliberate decision, and I could see where I was going. And I read a bit about advertising to see the potential of a highly commercializing Nigeria requiring strong brand building. So that's the choice I made. And so that's how I wound up doing. Thank you. Hello? Yeah. So that's how I wound up in doing industrial design. And once I was done, but even before I was done, I was actually doing vacation work with a small agency in Calabar, where I lived at the time. And when I finished, it was just a natural progression to go into advertising as an assistant manager in a small agency in Calabar. And from there, I departed to come into Lagos, where the action is, and joined Insight Communications. Maybe I'll pause for now.
Say was the turning point in shaping your career? Was it ABU, or what made you say, look, this is what I love and I'm going to stick to it?
Well, it's a bit difficult to respond to that because of my artistic talents. In my primary school days, I could draw portraits as far back as in my primary one. I would draw portraits of my classmates and my teacher and sell for 3 pence. And that was good funding for my Panguguru at break time. So I could see that my talent could be commercialized, and then advertising offered a great vehicle for that. But in terms of a turning point, yes, I decided to go into advertising. But maybe the turning point is where one would say the big break came. I'd gone off to Calabar and started work in a small advertising agency. But it was clear to me, and I think for me, a lesson to be learned here is that at any point in our lives, we must constantly review, where are we? Where am I headed? If I continue in this direction, what is the possible ultimate end game? And where do I really want to be? And so having spent just over a year in this small agency in Calabar, it became clear to me, and as I said to my father then, in 5 years' time, I will become a non-entity. Because I'm not learning, I'm not growing, and this company I'm working for is not growing. And eventually I'll just maybe leave the industry. So I need to move to where the action is. And so the turning point in my life was when I decided that I needed to change where I was, move from Calabar to Lagos. And I think the key point to make here also that in my interview with my managing director there, Mr. Biodun Shobanjo, he said to me, and it's a point to be well remembered, in Calabar, you are a very big fish in a small pond. Come to Insights. They're going to offer you a mighty ocean to swim in and become a bigger fish. And that, for me, was the turning point. I took that decision, even at a cut to my salary, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. And we're glad you took that decision because, look at you here today. Now, before I go into my second question, Mr. Ufot, just to understand this debate, creativity, you work in the creative industry, you sell ideas, and it takes a lot to come up with those ideas and campaigns that last for the people who talk about for many years. Now, can creativity be taught or is in it?
Well, my personal view is that creativity, to a very large extent, is in it. You're either creative or you are not. What training does for you is to direct the thinking, give it some form. Because for me as a creative person, I see opportunity for creativity in every situation. I mean, growing up, I was sometimes a nuisance because I would be very inclined to turn a very serious situation into a joke, and my mother was tired of me with that kind of situation. So it comes to me naturally. And what I've tried to do through training is to give it some form, some shape, some direction, to ensure that when it comes to a professional practice, there's a discipline and consistency that delivers. In advertising, the client pays you to get a job done, and expects certain minimal levels of results. And because advertising is a discipline, there must be a process, a method to it. So no matter, the mistake many people who are creative make is that if you don't put a method and process to your creative thinking, you can never be consistent in delivery. Absolutely.
Looking at an environment like Nigeria, we want to get some of the trade secrets. Where do you, at what time do you get your creative juices? I remember the artists of all, the Monets, the Van Goghs, they'll have to sit by the Danube. The weather has to be nice, you know, there's beautiful scenery, and you get all those ideas. How does it come to you?
I like to withdraw into myself alone and introspect a lot and think through. And of course, the quality of thinking will be informed by the things I have absorbed in the course of the day. So like I said, every opportunity I have, just watching someone, I sit in my car and I watch people in at bus stops. It brings ideas to me. I sit in traffic and I'm looking into a bus in traffic beside me. I see the people. It brings ideas to me. But these things actually come together for me more in a very unique place. When I'm in the loo. The loo is one place you can't be disturbed. You just sit there and we'll be tired whoever, if there are not too many loos in the house, whoever is waiting to use the loo after you, because I'm actually working in there. You know, so that's where I think some of my best ideas actually come, when I'm just alone and sit there, or last thing I'm in bed before I sleep, or early in the morning I lie there. But my best thinking place has always been in the loo.
Now, Mr. Ufort, Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed did a fantastic job by taking us down memory lane to the iconic Guinness advert. You were a big part of Udeme, my friend. Now, creativity is often hailed as the heartbeat of a successful advertising, and your legacy is a testament to this. Now, we want to get to the backstory, the anatomy of that campaign that stood as a beacon of ingenuity, dissecting the factors that fueled its success. How did you and your team fuse cultural insights, consumer psychology, and innovative thinking to create that advert that resonated deeply, but also ignited a broader society conversation?
Yeah, thank you, Benga. That Guinness campaign was a regional project. It was the outcome of strong, close collaboration between Saatchi and Saatchi London, Saatchi Cape Town, and SYU in Nigeria. And we pulled together creative and strategy teams, and we worked on a concept that would be very differentiated. Now, what was the background thinking behind this? The Saatchi planning team had way back established the fact that Africans are natural storytellers. They love to tell stories. And when we look back in our culture, you know, some people grow up in communities and villages where the old women will gather kids. And that's where the NTA program, Tales by Moonlight, came from. So they tell stories and kids look forward to that. And when I was young and I would go home, my grandmother would do that with us in the village. So it's something familiar. Beyond the love for storytelling, fast forwarding to the more modern era, it was also discovered that cost of media in Nigeria was quite low, and girl in Africa, unlike in Europe and America. And so you had the opportunity to flight commercials that you could, a full minute, even if you could, 120 seconds, 2 minutes, whereas in Europe and America, with the high media rates, everybody was trying to focus on a 15, 20 seconder to optimize the media space. So you had more time to tell stories. And various research has shown that if you told a good story, no matter how long it was, how you start and how you trend it would keep the audience engaged. That was number one premise for the thinking. Secondly, it's about the Guinness product itself. Guinness Stout is a beer like no other beer. Is it the color? Is it the taste? You either love it or you don't love it. You drink Guinness or you don't. But one thing is for sure, those who drink Guinness would hardly take any other beer. So we need to create communication that would plug into the storytelling love of Africans, using cheap media to flight an interesting story with some consistency that would ensure that that story will be ingrained in the minds of the target audience. And so we also felt that the storytelling had to be different to be in alignment with the character of the brand Guinness, which is different. Every other beer commercial at the time would always have a party scene, a picnic scene, or some, as we call it, some jollification. But Guinness is a serious beer. And so we need to tell a story that shows that, yes, Guinness Stout is serious, but also Guinness will touch you in a way that the others would not touch you. And that means strong men, strong women who want to be inspired, who will be carried by an inspirational story. So we need to create a character, tell a story that will connect, resonate with people, and would, in fact, on its own, begin to drive itself. Because when advertising can garner, unearned media, earned media, unpaid for, then it becomes even more powerful. So we had to craft that. And so my friend Udeme came up, and it was a bit risky because we were a bit scared. One thing I've learned in creativity is that if the thinking does not scare you, if it doesn't seem particularly risky, then it's not that creative. My design teacher always taught me in university, an idea comes to you, ask yourself, would the next guy have the same idea? Would someone else also think the same way? If the answer is yes, then leave it. Try and think of something that you want to believe nobody else can think of. That will be cutting edge. And we did it. We were scared, I must tell you, thanks to Saatchi and Saatchi at London and Cape Town levels, a lot of research was conducted to confirm that the advertising would not pump. But I must tell you, the media strategy was also key, because in the first 3 weeks of that campaign launching, what I had feared, because that my name being used would draw undue attention to me, I got so many phone calls about how stupid that advertising was. A client actually called me and said to me, Udeme, you have simply used your client's money, to promote yourself. No, what the hell are you talking about? So the man wanted to fly, wanted to work up there. What has that got to do with Guinness Stout? But you see, Saatchi's had researched and researched consumers. And the facts emerged from those research studies that was exactly what the consumers wanted.
That's what they remember, Udeme, my friend. Yes.
Yes, maybe something I should also clarify here, which is become much talked about. The name of the model, the star of the commercial, was a big debate. In working, we have been told to come up with names of a star that Nigerians would love. And we sent all what we considered popular Nigerian names at post-production level. And my producer was in Cape Town for the finishing, came back and said to me, the job is done, but they changed the name of the hero of the commercial. I said, what name did they use? He just said, they used you. I said, who is you? What do you mean they used you? He said, you. They used you. They mentioned you. And what I used to do in those days, if I had a very important conversation to run with the global account director on Guinness, he lived outside of London and I lived in VGC. So we had about the same drive time from his office, in the West End to his home, as I would drive from Okpebi to VGC. So we left very important discussions to be held on the drive home. So it was a 40-minute chat as to why he could not use Udeme. And he said to me eventually, sorry, it's been decided, even the client has approved to change the name now. We hear you, change the name now. It would cost us 3 weeks, and the campaign must break in 2 weeks. We can't afford that. Please allow us. Because my point was simply this: if it bombs, it's my name. But more importantly, everyone that knows me know I'm in advertising. Those who know me better know I work for Guinness. So it will be a natural, view that it was my decision to use my name for the advertising. But, well, that's how it went. So maybe that explains maybe some questions somebody might ask eventually.
Yeah, thank you very much for that backstory. And if it could, if we had a Golden Lion Cannes type of award ceremony in Nigeria, we'll probably win. Thank you so much. We just watched things on TV. We didn't know it was you. I was a kid then, and a lot of Nigerians that are not in the advertising industry wouldn't know. So I'm glad the team stuck with the name, and the rest is history. Now, moving on, let's talk about building lasting relationships. Advertisers, like diplomats, you're like journalists, you interact with every sort of person and clients from all walks of life. Behind every successful campaign, there's often a symphony of collaborations and partnerships. Mr. Ufot, can you recount an instance where your ability to cultivate and nurture relationships, both within and beyond the industry, played a pivotal role in not just the project's triumph, but also in sculpting a lasting legacy? What principles of relationship building and networking do you consider indispensable for professionals seeking to leave an indelible mark on the advertising canvas?
To succeed not just in business, to succeed in life, even in family, you must be a good relationship builder. I would say the secrets of SYU's growth success has been a talent I believe I have given by God to build and maintain relationships. I spoke with a client last week, and he talked about 3 quotients that are critical to success: the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, and the third one that people tend to ignore, the social quotient. You see, for me, it is the social quotient that enables you to create the ecosystem on which the IQ and the EQ can thrive and work. The SYU story is that we started an agency where everybody was a creative person, and we're laughed at because they said, these guys are the backroom guys. How would they get clients? Where would the clients come from? We knew our deficiencies, and we knew that we needed to compensate for them. And like my guys would say sometimes, Mr. Ufot, the phenomenal Mr. Ufot is a secret weapon. You must have the capacity to walk into a room and in no time turn half the guys in that room to be your friends and passionate about you and your success. Specifically, I must give thanks to those who made it possible for me. Mr. Gbalado Shibudu, I approached, I'd never known him. Asked him to be my chairman of my board. He looked at me, listened to my fancy story, and I agreed. And introduced me to Tayo Aderonku, now of blessed memory, through whom I met Fola. And long story short, almost every client I met thereafter, almost every friend I began to build and cultivate, who became key to my success in SYU, was on the platform of meeting Tayo and Fola through Bali Oshibudu. You must have the skill to cultivate and maintain relationships. And once you have that talent, just like I said, it's something that is innate, creativity. It comes to you naturally. You must love people, show that you love them, show that you are really interested in them. And what you give is what you get back at the end of the day. So relationship building has been very key to me, and it's worked for SYU and you work for my business. And even in terms of the advertising itself, the work we actually do is to build relationships between brands and their consumers. So being able to build relationships between myself and the team I work with, between myself and the clients I work for, it's just a part of naturally me, and it's critical to success and has been very key to my success and the agency's success.
Thank you, Mr. Ufot. Just to remind you that we're still going to have Q&A sessions. So If I miss out on any questions, you're free to ask your questions. Now, as we begin to wind down, let's talk about inspiring the next generation. I want to know what you think about, this, we're in the digital age, social media age. There's new lexicons. When you were starting in the advertising industry, or up until the last 10 years, influenza meant a flu. But you have influencers now, and you have people that get paid for posting on social media. Would it ever be a threat to traditional media and advertising? Because it seems you have TikTokers, you have bloggers, you have all of that, and they're taking a lot of, they're eating into the advertising budget. What do you make of it?
In any encounter, it's your choice to decide that what you're encountering is either a threat or a support, or even better, an opportunity. You see, our agency has grown over the years from just being SO&U, the advertising agency, to having a media strategy, planning, and buying agency, to having an audiovisual company that produces all our video commercials and basically all our TV commercials, and has gone to PR, events, activations, a different agency, and newest babies on the block, an LED company that displays advertising in key locations. If you are traveling through MM2, for instance, and you're waiting to catch your flight, you see a very large screen there displaying advertising. That's from one of our companies. In the same vein, we've also gone into digital advertising. So we have a specialist company that does digital advertising. Now, it would have been a risk for S1U to feel, oh, digital is coming. So we throw up our hands in the air, surrender, and wait to die. You've got to evolve. You got to evolve, innovate, and see opportunities that come as challenges. And then you keep growing. We've actually ridden the crest of what people see as challenges to grow more opportunities for ourselves. But maybe in terms of also, if I go beyond, a bit slightly beyond your question about inspiring the next generation, what I would say to young people in this room is that your key success factor is the passion to be the best that you can be in any situation. I was maybe lucky. I had a father who demanded nothing but the best from me. And the story I love to tell is having struggled in class as an average student and pushed my way to becoming third in my class. I rushed in with my report card to my dad to declare that I came third in class. And his response to me was, whose kids came first and second? I was in primary 1. I never forgot it. So everything I lay my hands to do, I give it everything. I got to be the best. There's a saying, aim for the clouds, and at worst, you'll get the treetops. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Fort, what philosophical tenets, work ethic, and visionary thinking do you believe will empower emerging talents not only to excel in their own right, but also to be architects of an advertising landscape that continues to evolve and reverberate with impact?
Everything begins with a plan. You must say to yourself, and that is like a personal vision. What do you want to be? Now, when I interview people in my firm who want to join SYU, one of the questions I ask them is, what really do you want from life? All of us have to ask ourselves that question. Nobody ever gets up in the morning, hits the road and says, I'm going somewhere, just somewhere. When I left my home today, I was coming to NBCC in Lekki. So there's a clear direction, there's a purpose. You may not believe it. There are people in this life who wake up every day and have no clue as to where they are going. They're just going. They're just living, you know. So very early in life, I mean, when I talk about S1U, I say to myself, I had three ambitions. I call them my 3 Fs. I wanted to be famous. And I guess my friend with them may be more famous than I thought I would be. I wanted to have fun. And I felt that advertising is a profession I really enjoy myself doing. I enjoy what I do. The other F was I didn't want to be poor. So I wanted to make a fortune. You know, and thank God I've not been poor. You know, I can afford decent things, yeah? So and in achieving all of this, once you set an agenda for yourself, is that quality thinking, everything you want to do, you must put through some rigor. My friend Aigboja Agimokwede would say, put some rigor of thinking behind it. And once you've done the thinking, again, another friend, Faladela, would say, whatever powerful idea you have, whatever quality of thinking it is, you must roll your sleeves and sweat. So I say to young people, as my philosophy is, best thinking, work as hard as I can work, and be committed that at every opportunity, which I said earlier, the best and only the best will be good enough.
Thank you, sir. Your journey.
Sorry, one
yes.
more thing. Friends are important. You see, it is through relationships that you are given opportunity to use what you have, maybe in your brain, some skill you have to create value. I like to give the football analogy. You are the best footballer, master dribbler, JJ or Kocha. When your manager or coach puts you on the bench perpetually, nobody will know your skills. You need opportunity. You may even be on the field. If your teammates do not like you and never pass the ball to you, you will never be able to score. And so relationships are very, very key because relationships are the enablers that give the opportunity to show what you have and create value.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ufot. Your career has definitely served as a guiding light for many aspiring advertisers, and we're very thankful for that and for sharing your knowledge with us. But before we begin to wrap up, let's talk about differentiating brands through compelling narratives. Advertising is very competitive, and in a competitive market, how can storytelling be effectively employed to differentiate a brand from its competitors? Are there particular techniques or approaches we've employed that have successfully set brands apart and resonated with target audiences? Do you use different methods or techniques, or do you have your own in-house style?
Well, thank you, Ben. Let me start this way. You see, on the surface, advertising looks like great fun. You guys will wonder, oh, how did they just think about this? For advertising that works, and in S1U, we pride ourselves in saying creative solutions that work. It requires some more thinking. So the very first step to create narratives, to create stories that will deliver results, you must begin with the fundamentals. Do you know this product? So we try to immerse ourselves in understanding what exactly the product is, what it will offer to the consumer, and we take the products through an intense interrogation because the brand is actually the embodiment of all the attributes of that product. But we must know how it works and how it will work, what it will do for the consumer. And having done that, we now step to the other side to take the consumer also through a similar interrogation to understand who the consumer is, what the consumer wants and will expect from the kind of product we are trying to market to him. Having known that, and then, of course, looking at that brand eventually against other brands in the same market, we must then ask ourselves, how is this brand different? from other competing brands. And if I may deviate slightly, I go to the motto of McCann Network. McCann says advertising is truth well told. Every successful communication, every advertising that will succeed must be truth well told. You can romance it. So you bring imagery. That's where the storytelling comes in. And once we've understood that, we can come up with lines, we can come up with stories that you cannot separate from that brand. For example, isn't it interesting that after almost 33 years, Guaranteed Trust Bank still says, wouldn't you rather bank with us? We crafted that. And that line came up out of an intense interrogation of what Fola and Tayo were trying to do. We spent hours talking to them about their brand. When we now wrote the copies, people would say, that sounds like Fola talking. But we connected with the brand and we understood we were ourselves the consumers. In the same way, still in banking, we had a different line. Fidelity Bank still says, we are Fidelity. We keep our word. That was crafted by S1U almost 25 years ago for Fidelity. They can change it because those lines came from the roots of those brands. It came from an intense understanding of what the brand should mean to the consumer. And when we also, of course, create communication, there's a product ad we've created for Guinness. When we ran that ad to a visiting brands director out of London, he said to us, that product ad by Guinness is the best product advertising he'd seen. Because you watch a 45 seconds film, and immediately it ends, you want to grab a bottle of Guinness to drink. So it's about understanding the product itself, what it means. And all it showed was somebody pouring Guinness from a bottle into a glass, close-up shots. It creates a hunger to have a sip of the Guinness. So in terms of creativity, if I respond right, it's about a deep understanding of the different things that have to play between the consumer and the brand to create communication that will resonate, connect, and continue to tell stories about the brand. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your honest answer. And for a minute, I thought, I hope I'm not forcing you to give our SWU brand secrets, but you're free to try it. There's nothing better than the original. Now, as we begin to wrap up, looking ahead, you have been very lucky to have gone through different generations, and you've seen the advertising industry evolve. I remember, I'm sure you can remember your days as a graphic artist in ABU, post-ABU, and then today somebody just gets a nap and, you know, life is so easy. You create graphic designs. There's also the age of artificial intelligence. I could pick up my phone now, go to ChatGPT, tell ChatGPT to write a copy for me on a product, and it will come out in 30 seconds. Having been through this whole generation and seen the industry evolve, would you say technology is complementary? Is it disruptive? And how can you harness this technology for the future of advertising to make it better? Where are you at this point, and what are your thoughts on the future of advertising in Nigeria, and also with this new technologies that we have?
Thank you. You see, AI, ChatGPT, technology, these are really enablers. They will help. They help you to get the job done faster, sometimes better than you normally would do, but definitely faster. And they'll give you some consistency. But you see, there's no creation. There's nothing more powerful than the human mind. AI lacks the emotions that the human has. And for the most effective creative work that gets done is that work that grabs at the heart of the consumer. AI would try, but I'm sure AI cannot feel me the way Ray would feel me, because he can empathize. There's a certain connection. So my view is that ChatGPT and other AI vehicles will do a lot to improve our pace. We can do much more, do it faster. But those really deep creative works will still come from the deep, powerful imagination of the human mind. That's, for me, is the future. So the guys in the future, they will do more. They'll do it faster, make more money, of course. But I'm afraid we may go back to where we felt when we started SYU, that advertising was looking more like press releases, and we need to make a difference. And it's the human mind, I still believe, will make that difference. I mean, I stand to be corrected. Let's see how the world evolves. Today we're in the world of Kashimago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Udeme Ufot, MFR. It was an absolute pleasure hosting this fireside chat with you. I do enjoy your insights and your valuable answers to my questions. And also thank you to the members of the audience for paying attention. I believe you all deserve a round of applause. Yes, thank you. So I'll hand over to Mr. Tajuddin Ahmed to...
Again, may we give another round of applause to Mr. Udeme Ufot, MFR, and our very, very strong moderator, Mr. Gbenga Borowa. So we have an interlude of 4 minutes. We're going to have videos from our sponsors. First, from First Bank Nigeria Limited. Media, take a cue from me and play it.
Susie likes to live life on her own terms, and with her Visa prepaid card from First Bank, she has no worries shopping abroad or paying locally, as her card comes in USD or Naira variant, and she enjoys the liberty of funding her card as she desires. Susie got her Visa prepaid card from the First Bank branch nearest to her. It's valid for 3 years and can be personalized to suit her lifestyle. First Bank Visa prepaid card can be used on any payment channel, ATM, POS, and web. And if you're a corporate business organization, the card can be used as your budget card to sort out business expenses. In addition, the card can be co-branded to showcase your business. So, get a First Bank Visa prepaid card from any First Bank branch and enjoy a budget card that suits you. You first. First Bank.
Let's just appreciate First Bank Nigeria Limited. The second sponsor we have is Nigerian-British.
There's a drop of goodness in everyone. Share goodness with someone today. Malta Guinness. Enjoy a world of good.
Yeah, we appreciate Guinness PLC. You can see the transition from Udeme, my friend's a great man, to this hippie one that we have. This is conforming to the times. So we go into our Q&A session for 30 minutes. Now, they should tell us we have participants online, so they're going to be sending their questions virtually. But we'll start with the physical participants here. And I yield the floor again to Mr. Gbenga Borowa to continue with the Q&A session.
Thank you. Please, can I see a show of hands if you have questions for Mr. Ufot?
Thank you very much, sir. This was really revealing, and thanks a lot for all you've done for the country. I'm really glad the country has also honored you. I think there's more to come. You mentioned about Sashi and the wonderful Udemy ad, where you said the research kind of paid off, right? So you had all these opinions, and the research, the data kind of told you that, look, go ahead, even though it's a bit scary, go ahead. So the data from Sachi really kind of came through. We live in a world of data right now. How much do you rely on data and gut instinct? What's that ratio now? And you've already talked about AI, and AI is driven mostly by data. So I know you have so much data, I don't know whether you're going to also have your own private AI to look through all your data and kind of see if you can extract that wonder from your brain. But obviously there's some that can be extracted, as I said, it comes from the heart. So how are you working with data and gut, and also that, as you said, that deeper instinct that comes from the heart?
Thank you very much. I didn't get your name.
I'm David Brown.
David Brown. Thank you very much, David. I must confess, when we started out, a lot was driven by intuition. We just we had a feel of the consumer, had a feel of the market, and we went, and our intuitions paid off. But over the years, data has been more readily available. And as you begin to get into the much bigger games, the risk element of what you do is very high. Before a client will release a budget that runs into hundreds of millions, not to mention billions, he needs to have some guarantee that you know what you're talking about, and there's some facts that back up your assumptions. And so data has become even more important. Our agency has actually evolved to where we're having a stronger strategy and planning unit that ensures that whatever data is required for our planning purposes to inform any assumptions you want to make about the consumer is well thought out and backed by data. But it also remains important that, you see, it's from some of the intuitions that we have. Data will give you information. Data gives you information. How you use the information also falls back on some level of intuition, because you see, and I love the story of how MTN came into Nigeria, for instance, when their bigger competitor in SA, which was Vodacom got data and said that from the data that they got, and look at the per capita income of Nigerians could not afford mobile services. And so they refused to buy the license and walked away. MTN came and looked and said, yes, we can see that these guys are at this point just about $300 per capita income. For the kind of costs, they really can't afford us. But we've also been around the country. These guys are partying every weekend. They're doing Ashwabi every weekend. The lifestyle of Nigerians does not reflect this $300 per capita income. There's money coming from somewhere. And that money is what will pay for our services. So MTN took the plunge. And a few years after, the rest is history. They overtook Vodacom through Nigeria. So data is useful, but it's more important the kind of brains you have in the agency to interpret the data and make sense of that data. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning again, and thank you for your insightful, personal, revealing storytelling of you. At least I can go away remembering Mr. Udeme, who fought as the fun, fortune maker, and famous person. So my question literally is really attempting to bridge the gap between the old and the new next generation, because we really need to refocus on them. And I also want to bring in our country, Nigeria. Based on your experiences and a lot of the conversation we've had this morning, I'd like you to share some insights in how we can tell the Nigeria story better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You see, even when you market brands, the brands you market are not perfect. The Harley Davidson is a love mark, as we say in Sachi world, for many people. But they will say to you, a Harley Davidson is a motorbike compared to a Suzuki or a Honda. Underperforms technically. But the Harley Davidson fan would never go for a Suzuki or a Honda. What happens is that advertising and brand building romances those points of the brand that will endear it to its audience. The narrative, the storytelling must bring up those things that will position the brand in the minds of the consumer or the public for positives. Unfortunately, in building our nation, we lack that discipline. Maybe because some of the people that have been given the responsibility to manage our brand do not understand. Or maybe our leadership has not imbued enough levels of self-confidence, self-love in our people that we are more inclined to talk about our country more positively. At the end of the day, the impression the world has about us comes from us. I flew once, and it was, of course, in those difficult days of, I think, Abacha regime. And there was a guy in the aircraft with me and picked up a paper. He picked up 4 newspapers. And the 4 newspapers he shared in aircraft cabin, all on their front pages, had negative stories about Nigeria. And he said, this is what the international media pick. And this informs the view of Nigeria. I think if every Nigerian is contributing to the Nigerian brand. Maybe our leaders have disappointed us, but let us not disappoint ourselves. We can work more. I think this country has so much to offer. This country is doing so well in so many other areas. And that if we focus too intensely on our negatives, all we tend to do is to deepen the wrong perceptions of us. You know, a South African said to me many years ago, he feels safer walking the streets of Lagos than walking the streets of Johannesburg. But the world doesn't hear that so much. You know, we sat in a car and we got to a traffic light and they said, okay, guys, keep your Rolexes down. I said, what do you mean? He said, just keep your watch inside the car. Don't hang your hand out of the car. Because if you're lucky, they'll take your watch. If you're not lucky, they'll take your wrist with them. You know, so every country has its own challenges. Is it America? But the Americans will be consistent. God bless America. You know, at some point in the UK, there are partners there. They weren't very positive narratives, but it was consistent. God bless the Queen. All those things. So I think it's for us to be more focused, be more positive about our country. No matter what we try to do as communicators, if I get a brief to build a Nigerian brand and I'm painting positive narratives, and everyone in this room steps into the public domain and only has negative things to say about Nigeria. Even I am guilty. Sometimes you get into some space, you're in a cocktail party abroad, and somebody walks up to you and says, oh, damn, you are from Nigeria. And what do you think? The other day, I got this strange phone call, and there was this chap, and the natural default reaction by many of us say, oh, our people are terrible. You know, it's become a big scourge upon Nigeria. We don't know why they do these things, and we begin to amplify that perspective. But we could respond differently. I once told some guy who told me about Nigerians being too corrupt. He didn't like my conversation. And I said to him, you know what? The word corruption is English. In the English dictionary. So if nobody was corrupt out there, that word wouldn't exist. So it's not peculiar. And I went on to embarrass him by saying, I've also worked with expatriate clients. One said to me, in our company, any gifts above $5 are unacceptable. You won't, it should not be heard. Then you need to understand. I understand. And of course, we ensure that our people comply. Integrity is important. But you know what? That same client, expatriates, 2 years later, told his driver to take him to the airport. He got to the airport, got out of his car with his briefcase, boarded a flight, and left the country. As the aircraft was taking off, investigators were arriving at his office. Billions of naira had been stolen. And this chap who was MD and his CFO, who also was on the flight leaving Nigeria, were involved. But that's the man that told me how corrupt Nigerians are. And how, in our company, any gifts to anyone that's above $5, don't allow anyone to blackmail you. Don't answer them. But they do worse things. So as I said to my guy, I have seen things, I have heard things. So you want to try me, I'll tell you your own. Then you can listen to me or think I'm a very bad guy and then walk away. But when we do this, we'll push back. We have problems as a country. Others have gone through the same problems. It can be fixed and we'll fix it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Can you share your perspectives and experience regarding succession in Nigerian companies?
Regarding what?
Succession.
Succession.
And succession planning. Thank you.
That's a question that my former partner, Giloku, would call a curveball. It's not easy. You just have to try. It takes, as in all things, two to tango. The guy or the CEO looking for a successor identifies a possible successor and begins to groom. There are two things at play. Is that person being groomed really keen to stay? And with all that investment, that's question number one. Question number two, has the leader who identifies this successor really done a good job to confirm that that person has what it takes to step into those shoes? In my own company, I got to a point where I was told by my HR consultant to step down my expectations. Everybody cannot be the Melfort. You are demanding too much and frustrating the guys coming behind you. Now, what does that mean? You step down your expectations and things begin to go wrong. And you have to keep trying. So many companies have succeeded in their succession planning, but when it comes to professional firms, it becomes more challenging. And I'm talking from my perspective here, because in a professional firm, there are two things at play. There's a craft. You have lots of people in the firm who are very good technically. But then you also need the skills to be a good leader and a good manager. And it takes different things sometimes to achieve that. And for you to be a successful CEO, they say job number one of the CEO is inspiration. So it has been a struggle for many organizations. We've seen they get it right, not so right. But the key thing in my view, and I've seen it happening in a bank, where the bank appointed someone at a very senior level, and I could see as a friend of the bank that that person was not exactly up to speed. In just about 18 or 2 years, I was invited to a send-off dinner for that person that he had taken an early retirement. The point is that like my mentors teach me, you keep trying. If you think you got a lemon, be decisive, you got a lemon, and try the next one because there's no time. But you start very early to groom. Yet again, with the economic situation, sometimes the person you are grooming may have even bigger expectations, bigger ambitions than what you're putting before him or her, and may choose, if he or she is that good, to go and explore their own terrain. It can be, I've had a lot of that myself, you know. This is the guy you think can do it the way, even better than you. But the guy has bigger ambitions and he moves on. So you just keep trying. It can be frustrating, but you don't give up, because the future of the enterprise actually depends on successful succession. Thank you.
Udeme, my friend, having listened to you, what comes to mind is how the industry can assist the nation in projecting a more positive global outlook. You spoke about if we're engaged, but we're not likely to be engaged because these guys are not thinking in that line. And I think the first job basically would be then to look at internal branding, rebranding. Nigerians are the greatest demarketers of Nigeria. I mean, it's a waste of time saying you're doing anything to convince foreigners. If Nigerians themselves cannot see a future and a hope for the country, then we're in trouble. I recall the AAA global advertising that basically speaks to social marketing, that is not out of any government contract or brand mandates. Advertising industry body like AA took upon themselves to generate adverts and pay for it that helps to bring consciousness to important social issues. Is it not possible as a leader in the Nigerian advertising industry, and maybe that would then be the epitaph, of your career, to begin to discuss with leaders and see whether we can actually put resources together to design an internal rebranding campaign for the country and pay for it, even with support from our clients. Because if you wait for government, we've waited for too long. You're approaching 70, and I'm certain that you'll be retired by then. And the guys that are coming behind us are not even as interested as our generation. So my question is there a possibility of having a discussion among leaders in the industry about pooling resources, with some of our clients to design some internal message for Nigerians to show that this country, no country can, abridge its evolutionary process. We are just going through our time. America was like this in the 30s and the 40s. So it may behoove our generation of advertising leaders to come up with that kind of initiative and pool resources within ourselves and our clients and begin to push it, not waiting for the government to give us a brief, because it will never come, and if it comes, there are tendon problems, it is not sustainable. Your point, your views. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prince. I'll be brutal. Before we started this session, Benga, Ray and myself were discussing about how advertising can help Nigeria and how we can support volunteer. My point is this: when the nation needs something to be done about health services, they engage doctors as professionals and profitably. When something needs to be done in financial services, the banks are engaged at a professional level. Why must it be that when it comes to the issues of the image of the country, someone somewhere expects me to volunteer service because I'm the most nationalistic? But okay, let's take it as an aside. I want to volunteer. Good. What is the point of a dialogue with the deaf? I don't believe in headbutting a brick wall. And as my wife will tell you, one of my famous sayings, I don't believe in talking for talking's sake. They are fundamentals. Those countries that made progress, how did they make progress? In China, there was a Mao Zedong who stepped out and set certain principles, values, and drove the country. And his successors continued. You know? And on the back of that, despite all the attacks by the West, painting negative images, consistency, where is China today? In Africa, we have a Paul Kagame in Rwanda who has stepped forward, a strong leader, focused, determined to transform his country. And we can see him transforming. And the West described Paul Kagame as a dictator. And the country is making progress. Is it Singapore? Is it Malaysia? In my discussion with some of my friends, this may sound like democratic heresy. Is what we perceive as Western-style democracy really working in Nigeria? Okay, off point. Is it really working? Because the countries that have made the best progress in recent years have been countries that have been run by benevolent dictators. Even the UAE. Now, nothing we will do in trying to change the narrative of Nigeria to develop our country without a leadership that believes, one, that the country needs to be changed. Two, and wants to really change the country and find ways to change it. Three, that there's an elite consensus that no matter which party, which political party takes over in this country, that consensus remains that is a path to growth of our country. You know? In advertising, when we were doing My Friend Udeme, it was a collaboration between agency and the client to think of what we want to say. And in fact, how will the brand itself as a product live up to the narrative that we are painting in advertising? So let me go back to where we started. So I volunteer. I want to change my country. I have skills I put on the table to change my country. I'm talking and going this way. The guys who lead the country are going in the other direction. Everything I'm trying to say, the actions of leaders is communicating a different thing entirely. And the citizens are themselves watching and are reacting or responding in kind. If we behave as if Nigeria belongs to no one, it's whoever can take, let him take. You know, the country is a free-for-all. When your turn comes, you take. If it's not yet your turn, shut up and wait. And when your turn comes, Emiloko, my turn to take. I'm sorry, I said I would brutal. But there's hope. One day we will learn. You know, these countries that have done so well, they've gone through changes, experiences. I think it must begin with having the right leadership that commits to changing the country and galvanizing the people, starting with an elite consensus that this way we are going to go to. Nigerians will follow. These same Nigerians did war against indiscipline. They queued. Yes, some of them were flogged, you know, but they queued. Nigerians, when they see the right leadership, they will align. And on the back of that new direction, we can begin to craft narratives that will reinforce those values. And when we reward the right things, something was shared last week. I'm sorry if I'm going to be political. Something was shared last week. That the EFCC chairman is in detention. Now, out of the ministers and people in government, almost 60 or 70% or the politicians he was investigating are occupying or about to occupy juicy positions in government. Now, what campaign am I going to craft? What narrative will I spin to say to Nigerians that we are serious people? Prince, I beg.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. I think you have said it all, and you've probably answered the questions I wanted to ask. But I'll still like your thoughts on expectations and standards, because when we look around, yes, indeed, we may have expectations, we may have yearnings and longings to belong or to be like, countries that we talk about. But my question is, do we have standards, the minimum standards? Because the question you were answering, referring to succession and your HR, stating that your HR officer was saying your expectations were probably too high. I'm like that, especially with the young officers I work with. I have very high expectations. However, I do recognize the fact that they are young, they are learning, but we must have a minimum standard of doing things and of living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nigerians are great people. We excel in different parts of the world in different ways, even locally, let's take it on a lighter note. We brew the best beer in the world. Nigerians remain until even the Heineken we drink, star beer is ours. And so we can do great stuff. But we have a challenge, and there's what a friend of mine called the just manage it mindset. Just manage it being, not being the best, but it's good enough. Just manage it. I've seen in organizations that once leadership insists that this is the standard, shape up or shape out. Once people who work with you, once people who are given assignments to handle, know very clearly that this organization will not accept anything below standard, and that there will be consequences for not meeting the standards, everybody shapes up. Once people know that the system is amenable for substandards, and they do accordingly. Nobody gets. I read somewhere what got IBM at the time IBM was on its way down. What led to it? When I read the case study, the narrator said IBM had grown to this conglomerate where there was this family feeling. Everybody felt, yeah, it's our company. There were generations of families who work in IBM, and that people hardly got fired. They were family. And the conclusion from that case study was that in any situation, corporates, even in the family, there must be consequences. There's no pride to saying, oh, in our company, we don't fire people. I've come to learn that when it runs some period of time and nobody gets fired in the company, everybody thinks anything goes. The moment one or two guys, not even just are disciplined, people sit up. So my view is that for standards to be maintained, the same Nigerians who work internationally, who excel, head organizations. Let's look at medical practice, for instance. There are a bunch of doctors today in the UK who come into Nigeria and practice maybe once a month. These guys are some of the best where they operate from. My son was sick once, and I was going to take him abroad. And I went to a hospital in Lagos, and there was a consultant there. And I called my brother, who works in a hospital in London, and said, I've met this doctor. And I said, what's the doctor's name? I gave him the name. And he said, keep him in Nigeria. If you send him to London, it's very likely that the same person that will be called to come and attend to him in London. So keep him there. He's in good hands. Nigerians have standards. But if the system is amenable to allowing people cut corners, then that will be a fate. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Okay. Like we announced earlier, this session is also streaming online, and we have a couple of questions just to before we begin to wrap things up. This question is from Shola Akinpelu. He says, if there was anything you could have done differently at the early stages of your entrepreneurial journey, what would that be? Do you have anything you would have changed, or like Frank Sinatra, did you do it your way with no regrets?
You know, it's always so easy, benefit of hindsight. You think you could have done better. But I also learned that the moment determines the action a lot of the time. That many things I've done that to the casual onlooker were great acts of foolishness. But you see, there are things I cannot see, things I do not know. There is a God. There is God. And it is that God that turns so many acts of foolishness into great wisdom. There are things I have done in my career that could have killed my business, but instead worked out very well for the business. Not me. Just the moment was right. So my thinking is that when I look back, all I can say to myself is that probably if I'd sought in some aspects of my business better legal guidance, I would have solved some problems in advance. But some of the problems that I was able to solve, I used my wisdom. And you see, being married to a lawyer, later became an SAN, I will always be blamed for not seeking the right guidance. But maybe I could have done better in that direction. But I have no regrets. I repeat, too many foolish things I did turned out to be right.
One more question from the online portal. As a public relation consultant, how can one effectively incorporate the art of storytelling into the realm of corporate and reputation management?
It's about being very aware of yourself. Very often, a lot of CEOs take communications for granted. Many just think about communications or the corporate affairs department when there's a crisis. When things are going well, they never think of the need for strong communications. They forget, and I advise my clients accordingly, that, you see, when you have a strong foundation as a brand, which is supported by the strong narratives, when the hiccup comes, when there's crisis, you are better positioned to survive the crisis and come out stronger. And that's why a brand like Toyota, many years ago, in the US, had a massive recall. And it was like, oh, here comes the end of Toyota in America. And then to everybody's shock, 2 years after, they were back where they were, even stronger. So it's best for us to invest in those narratives and tell our stories. I mean, even for us as Nigeria, we do lots of great things, but we take these things for granted. We assume people know us. People know what we are doing, but they may not. So let us be strategic in selling ourselves and crafting those stories that will help to project us in good light before our audiences. It's an insurance policy for our reputations.
Will you give a resounding round of applause to Mr. Udemelfort? Before I invite Mr. President to present gifts to both the speaker and the moderator, we have our last sponsors video, Extreme Ideas.
Hi, my name is Steve Babaiko. I'm the CEO of Extreme Group. When we started, we were just about 7 people, plus myself, making about 8 thereabout. It's so heartwarming that in 10 years, Extreme has become the #1 agency in Nigeria today in terms of any parameter you may choose to apply. And not just in Nigeria, we've extended the tentacles of this great institution beyond Nigeria. We'll continue to drive ourselves hard in terms of technology advancement, embracing technology, getting bright new talents, getting the right people on the bus to keep moving. And another secret of ours is our proprietary tool, which is Finding X. X equals AB plus C. So it's finding the consumer insight, the white spaces, plus the brand constant. In all of that, we find X, and that we are able to bring it out in a compelling way to create compelling communication. I'll say to all young people out there, your dreams are very valid. Cheers to Extreme Ideas at 10. Salute.
I'm Fola Salam, Finance Director, Extreme Group. It has been an interesting 10 years journey and at the same time very challenging. A business that started with about 8 people from Lagos 10 years ago. Now have offices and footprints across Africa with over 200 people on our payroll.
Hi, I'm Mike, ECD of Extreme Ideas. First up, I'd like to congratulate Steve and the team on reaching 10. So what about the next 10 years? Well, the X in Extreme represents many things. The unknown, the magic ingredients, the X factor. And finding X for our clients' brands, products and services is the springboard of our thinking that gives us the edge over other agencies.
Hi, my name is Adeleke and I'm the General Manager for Extreme Ideas Southern Africa. As you may already know, Finding X is about helping businesses uncover their brand essence, consumer insights, and unique offerings that help set them apart. But at Extreme, we also know that we are a business and a brand, which led us to finding our X as far back as 2017. This birthed our presence in Southern Africa and propelled us to expand into East and West Africa. Finding X has opened us to collaborations and the possibilities of mergers and acquisitions on the continent and beyond.
Hello, my name is Ola Sukomi, HR Director at Extreme Ideas. My friends and colleagues call me Soups. Well, the Extreme Journey. Looking back at the Extreme Journey so far, it's interesting to note that it has not always been a smooth and sailing experience. Despite all of these challenges, our focus did not waver. We were very resolute. We did all that is necessary to develop our workplace policies, procedures, we sourced for the best talent, built a sustainable culture that would help in ensuring good team integration. And it has been an interesting journey so far. I am proud to be a part of this great team.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 70th International Festival of Creativity and the very first award show of the week. This week we recognize some firsts. Already, please give it up for the first ever Lion wins from Nigeria.
The Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce is the foremost bilateral chamber in Nigeria. Founded in 1977 to promote trade and investment between Nigeria and Britain, the chamber is affiliated with the British Chambers of Commerce, which provides access to a network of 53 chambers of commerce across the UK and 49 other international affiliates. Our cardinal goals are trade facilitation, positively influence policy, communicate government policy, networking, enrich membership experience. Started in 1977 with just 20 foundation members, our membership base has grown to over 400 corporate members from diverse sectors of the economy. From a small space in Ebani House, Broad Street, to a state-of-the-art facility, NBCC Plaza, located at Olubumi Owa Street, Lekki Phase 1. With over 5 new initiatives, the Chamber has lined up events and activities planned out for the benefits of our members and non-members. NBCC Plaza provides accommodation for the headquarters and acts as an incubator for new businesses in Nigeria. It provides a business center for conferences and training programs for its members and the general public at very friendly rates. Over the years, we have received support from distinguished individuals and top corporate entities.
House and the Kaduna boy too. And an ABU product. We're wired that way. That's where we are. The next item on the agenda is presentation of gifts. I would like to invite Mr. President, Chairman of Council, to do these honors. First, to our distinguished speaker, a Nigerian of many parts, a leader par excellence, Mr. Udeme Ufot. My friend Udeme is a great man. We appreciate Mr. Ufot, please. Thank you, Mr. President. Next is a remarkable moderator who's promised to give us some pro bono service going forward, Mr. Benga Oborowa. One time. Thank you for your time, Benga. Okay, now time for pictures. I'll ask Mr. President to graciously stay behind. Moderator and speaker, stay behind as well. Our first group of pictures is our sponsors. First Bank, Extreme Ideas, Guinness, Nigeria PLC, and BAT. If our sponsors are here, could you just join our esteemed personalities to take a picture? Media, take a cue, please. Extreme Ideas, First Bank, Guinness, and BAT. There's a clear generational statement in the dressing of our esteemed sponsors, very, very clearly so. The next set of pictures, Mr. President, still wait behind, sorry. I need to keep you for a few minutes. Our Deputy President, the two Deputy Presidents, one of them is here, Mr. Aki Oshintoki. May we appreciate our Deputy President, please? With our sponsors. Our sponsors, please return. Sorry, you're a young guy, so you shouldn't matter that I'll keep you waiting and calling you again. Our sponsors. Again, please, our sponsors. Wait. Our sponsors will have to wait for more pictures after this. Okay, maybe I invite our past presidents and patrons to join them. Past President Prince Dr. Adelego. Our patrons, please. Past President's patrons. After this, we'll allow our sponsors to go take their seats. Thank you, our sponsors. May we appreciate them once more. Now, Mr. President, the Speaker, Moderator, and members of EXCO should join this picture. EXCO members. Moderator. Members of council, moderators still, council members. After the members of council, the members of the programs committee should ready to join them. Should get ready to join. To join the speaker, the president, and moderator. Please, council members may take their seats. Members of the programs committee. Members of the Advocacy Committee and PSG committees should join us, please. Advocacy and PSG committees should join us. Mr. President, never mind, I have the speaker today, so I order you to stay behind still. Now, President, Deputy President with the NBCC team, could you allow Mr. Udeme Ufort and our moderator to take their seats? Give them another round of applause, please. NBCC staff with Mr. President and Deputy President Akin Oshitoke. Please appreciate our headquarters staff. They are the Amazons and the kings behind the scene who made this happen. Finally, I'll ask Mr. President and Deputy President to take their seats for only the members of the NBCC team with the Chairman and Vice Chairman of Programs Committee. No. NBCC team, only final pictures. Only NBCC staff. Okay, media done. Okay, I have the honor to invite the Vice Chairman of the Programs Committee, my own Vice Chairman, Mrs. Nike Ibirogba. A woman who is a man, in the real sense of the word, at work.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Because I checked my time, it's already past 12. Thank you all for coming here. Mr. Udeme, thank you. I have a special thank you for you. On behalf of the chamber, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Udeme Ufort, who has told us today that we should think of something someone else hasn't thought of, as well as build lasting relationship. I'd also like to thank our moderator, Mr. Gbenga Aborowa. You did a fantastic job. The president of the council, the president and chairman of the council, Mr. Reate, we thank you for coming. ESCO and council members, we appreciate your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, we also like to thank you because we know it has not been easy taking time off to honor us here. The Programs Committee, thank you for making this happen. And the NBCC headquarters, thanks for this special event. I'd like you all to take note of the upcoming events. One, we have the Renewable Energy, Innovation, Transition, Opportunities and Challenges event coming up on Thursday, August 24th, 2023 at the NBCC Plaza here. There's also the NBCC Tech Academy, third cohort registration is still going on. Application closed on Tuesday, August the 15th. The African Edu Tech Conference, leveraging collaboration and partnership for EdTech growth in Africa, is also scheduled to come up in October the 5th at the NBCC Plaza here. Please note that our state-of-the-art facility here is open and available at affordable rates for your corporate events, training, seminar, and meetings. Please visit us today to make bookings or reservations. And most importantly of all, if you're interested in becoming a member of the chamber, please visit our website, www.nbcc.org.ng, or meet with our membership team at the registration desk. Finally, please follow us on social media to be informed of all our activities. You can reach us at NBCC @Nigerian_NG on Instagram, at Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce on LinkedIn, at Nigerian-British Chamber of Commerce on Facebook. Thank you for coming, and I'm sure you all have a lovely day.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman. We appreciate her. So food is served. We just exit the door. But before doing that, the media will want to have an interview with our guest speaker, Mr. Udeme. Other than that, the day is done. Thank you very much. So we can network as much as possible. We have time for that. The media interview with Mr. Ofort. Shagu. Yes. Okay. Okay, so we can have food, we can exit and have food and talk as we do so. Thank you.